Hello, everyone. I am here with Suzanne Moore, and I am thrilled to be bringing her to you today because she does amazing book launches and she helps people move from just being a nonfiction author to being a thought leader, which is really what we're all trying to do, isn't it? So, welcome to the show, Suzanne.
Thank you so much, Carolyn. I'm really excited to be here and just to chat. I'm always excited to connect with authors um and with people who work with authors and I've had such good conversations with you in the past.
Yeah, we've had a good time. So why don't you start by telling us how did you first come to do the work that you're doing today?
Yeah, so I've been a business and marketing coach for a long time, like since 2013, 14-ish. And And in 2016, I wanted to write my own book, and I took a course on everything about getting your own self-published book out there in the world, right? But like so many people, I took the course and then I didn't actually get the book done. However, at the time, I was working with a business coach and I was in a mastermind, and the business coach was encouraging a lot of people to write their books. And so I had friends who got their books done because, somebody tells them to do something to do and they get it done. Whereas I was like,
Who are those
doing this like
people?
shiny object thing, right? And so I went to one friend, like the first one who had her book done, and I said, I just took this course, and part of it was about launching books. Do you want to do your launch the way I learned to do it? I'll help you. And she paid me something really nominal because I was like, this is my first one, right? And it went really well. And she was, a best-selling author. And then, another friend heard that I'd done that and said, will you help me? And you can see how it was going, how it went, right? So it was like they told two friends and they told two
I
friends.
love when I got
And
that
and next thing you know, I'm helping people launch books on a semi-regular basis. I still wasn't putting it out there as the primary thing that I do in my business because I looked at it as this kind of like side thing, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's all business and marketing and, and and then I it's been long enough. I'll say like 2020, it's been long enough that a bunch of these authors that I've helped launch, like I run back into after years of not kind of connecting online. And I'm like, I helped you get a bestseller and you're not leveraging that, right? And it's like, yeah, right? And, and so I started to really identify that for myself. But then during the pandemic, I wrote my own book, finally. And I put it out in September of 21. And after I did, I suddenly was like, oh, now I see all the reasons that all these authors that I've helped become bestsellers aren't doing these things to elevate themselves to thought leader, right?
Mhm.
And because as we know, until we walked in those shoes, we aren't really crystal clear about what the challenges are.
Yeah.
And so while I have really moved to doing a lot more book launches. Since 2019, I've done all of the book launches for an independent publisher called Highlander Press, and I have a lot of other people referring to me now and things like that because I've had great success, thankfully. Um, with all that energy, it's made me think about, well, what else do authors need? How else can I serve authors? Which is what led me to meeting up with you because,
Yeah.
you're doing funnels for authors and it's like, yes, because good Lord, they need them. And, and yeah, I just, now I see all those pieces and parts that people struggle with in getting from I've published my book to being seen not just as a published author, but as someone who is really a thought leader in his or her space.
Yeah, I think that's the real goal and the motivation for a lot of people publishing their books. So, yeah, we run into that issue where you think, okay, I publish a book, I make it a bestseller, the end. And like, oh, there's more
Right,
to
well,
do.
that's like the very beginning, really, right? Although, and the other thing is, I've heard people say, "Oh, well, I don't know how valuable this whole bestseller thing is," because if you're in the entrepreneurial world and you have a lot of friends that are authoring books, right? You realize that getting that, being able to be a bestseller, maybe that's not so valuable,
Yeah,
right?
it
And
doesn't feel as
I
special because there's a lot of people around you doing it.
Yeah, but my counter argument to that is, um, when you find yourself in that space, you're still this very niched down group of people in the world. And all the people you're speaking to, number one, if they know that that this bestseller status thing is achievable and you don't have it, then they're like, well, why the heck didn't you go for it? Right. And if they don't, then it still means a whole lot.
Very good point.
So I kind of am like, well, I'm still a believer that you should be, putting that carrot out there and trying to achieve it. And then for God's sake, please put it in your bio when you do. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's my number one. Like, if it's not in your bio, it really like makes my heart sink.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am very curious about your system because I know of one system for getting to that bestseller status, and I am dying to know if there are others or if everybody is just doing this, but it's the setting it to be 99 cents for the first period and, getting a launch team of people together to purchase it at that price. Do you have a different strategy or is it like a variation on that?
Well, I would say it's a variation. I did do that initially when I was helping people initially, and that is the strategy that I learned initially.
Mhm.
However, what I also have learned is, obviously you're only selling a 99-cent book if it's a Kindle only book, right? Because it costs more than that to create a physical book. And
Yes.
so what people do is they do that strategy with Kindle only, and then they come out with the physical book, but they already are saying that they're, a bestseller. If that's what you want to do, okay. However, um, I know a lot of people who want to own the physical book of the friend, that their friend wrote,
Yeah.
right? And I know a lot of people who really don't like to read on Kindle at all. And and so what in my experience, I I prefer to do a launch of both Kindle and physical so people can get what they choose, and I do a full price launch
Mm.
because what I think people are doing is leaving that money on the table. And what I have found is, I mean, if people want to leave the money on the table, they can leave money on the table. But in reality, I have, I succeed at helping my clients sell full price books and achieve bestseller status.
Very nice.
And so I I choose not to do that type of launch anymore unless for some reason it is absolutely what the client wants to do. But there's a whole like there's this people will reach out to me and they'll say, "Well, will you do my launch and my pre-launch?" And I'm like, They're the same thing. It's just what you call it."
Yeah, it's kind
Right?
of like a soft launch and then yeah.
Yeah. Um, and the other thing that the one, well, not the one thing, but one thing that I encourage people not to do when they are doing a full priced physical book launch with me is, a lot of them want to have a launch event the same day. Like, oh, well, I'm going to have this party. But the thing is that if you do that, the people who would be most likely to buy the book on Amazon will say, "Oh, well, I don't want to buy it because I'll just buy it from you at your launch event. You'll have them there."
Mm,
Right.
yep.
So I encourage people not to have any in-person event the day of their launch, and instead to wait until after they've launched on Amazon to announce whatever they might do.
Right. And then people can bring their copies that they got on Amazon, get them signed.
Exactly. Yeah. And the other thing that I often do is I recommend to my clients that they give people an incentive for buying on launch day. So
Oh,
it's some kind of follow-up or gift or something that enables them to show appreciation for those people who have supported the bestseller launch on launch day, because that's what you need. You need people committing to buy it on that day.
I love that. It reminds me of my business coach would say, stop thinking in terms of discounts and start thinking in terms of bonuses. Add
Mm,
something, take something away.
absolutely.
Kind of
Yes,
principle there.
that's right. And so I encourage my clients not to think in terms of discounts. I don't put it that way, but that's absolutely the truth.
Yeah. And I mean,
Um,
the fact is, like, 99 cents for an ebook. The difference between 99 cents, 4.99, 7.99, like, it's not that big a deal. I
no.
don't think that somebody who's gonna balk at 4.99 is like gonna
Well,
buy at 99 cents.
I look at it this way. Um, I live in Massachusetts in the Northeast, so I get that this isn't the case necessarily across the country. But if I go out to a nice restaurant and get myself a glass of wine, these days, like, it's going to cost me darn near $20 for a
Yeah.
glass of wine by the time I've tipped and everything, right? Would I be willing to buy many people a glass of wine because they're kind to me, they're good to me, they've supported me in business, whatever the case may be. So
Mm.
do I think I might be willing to buy their 14.99 book when I get a book
Yeah.
and all the knowledge in the book? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I would, right?
Mhm.
And so I just look at it that way. And it has worked for virtually all of my clients.
That's fantastic. So
Yeah.
what does the process of working with you to launch a book look like? Where does it start? How do they come to you? How do you work together?
Right. Well, as I said, I get a lot of referrals either from the publishing or self-publishing people that I'm in contact with because I've worked for their clients and had success, and so they keep referring people, or my former clients refer people, which is lovely. Typically, I like to get connected with someone about 8 weeks before their launch. And
Okay.
the reason for that is that I do use a launch team model. And so I help them figure out who those people are, right? There's a memory jogger process that we go through. And I will also when I do a launch for someone, I do virtually all the tech required for their launch. I help them send emails. I do all the written materials for them. I write the marketing materials. I create, or I have someone on my team create Canva graphics for them that incorporate their book cover and things like that, so that all they're doing is asking their friends, family, and fools, right? Their friends, their colleagues, their connections to support them in this effort, and getting the people that are willing to onto an email list, and then I provide everything else.
Mm.
Um, and I think that one of the reasons that my clients appreciate that so much is that the whole process of writing the book is so cumbersome, and it takes a while, and there's a huge feeling of vulnerability and all of the things. And just like anything else, it's always easier for someone else to write the marketing than it is for us to write the marketing,
Yeah,
right?
we get too close
It's
there and
like it's
stuff.
always easier to write your friend's resume than your own resume. It's always easier to pick out what someone else is doing that's beautiful and fabulous than it is to kind of be able to say it for yourself.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's the role I play. And the other thing I do often in those 8 weeks is I work with a lot. I'm sure this is true of men and women. I have worked with many more women than I have men, and I typically work with nonfiction writers.
Mhm.
And so, really, what they're doing is putting out something that makes them feel very vulnerable, right? It
Yeah.
often includes a lot of personal story. It makes the assumption that somebody wants to read what you have to say about something, and that's putting yourself in a very vulnerable position. And I love working with authors when they need to hear what you've written is worthy, and
Mm,
please, like, you're ready, and these people will support you in sharing the message, and these people will help you get this out there. Because I find that a lot of my clients, as much as powerful as they are and as wise as they are and as many clients as they've had that they've gone through these processes with, or all the things, right? um they still need that bit of cheerleading and bit of love,
mm.
um, that I get to give them through the process.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, the amount of time it takes and effort it takes to write a book, you're kind of like, oh, and now I have to do this next part. And now I have to do this next part.
Yep.
So it is
Yep.
nice to be able to do it for them, take some of that off of their plate because, yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. It is a lot. It is a lot.
Which is why not everybody publishes a book.
Absolutely. And is why that when you do, you need to claim it and put it out there in every way possible and use it to the best of your ability for your business and for raising yourself up as a thought leader. Because I there are millions, literally millions of people out there today, right now today, saying someday I want to write a book. A very small percentage will actually do it.
That is so true.
Yeah.
That actually makes me think we probably should have done this earlier, but we should talk about what the definition of a bestseller is. 'Cause I think there's a lot of misunderstanding around that, and people associate it as like, well, I've got to be on the New York Times bestseller
Yeah.
list, which is like a total racket, and people don't realize.
Right. Right. Well, so sure, we can chat about that. The way I delineate it, right, is if you have achieved um a top ranking in a category on Amazon, because I'm always focused on Amazon.
Are you?
Um Not always. Usually that's what my clients want, and therefore that's what I'm focused on. I have worked with clients who are like, I don't care about Amazon. This is what I want, and I can support them with that too, right?
All right.
Um, but typically it is get achieving a high ranking for a period of time on Amazon and being able to say, like, look, my book is a number one new release. Look, my book is a, number five new release. Most of my clients throughout the years have gotten a number one new release.
Ooh,
But
very
you
nice.
know what? If you can be number three and your book is like next to Brene Brown, who's number one, I'm gonna call you a bestseller.
Yeah.
Yeah,
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 I think for what authors might not realize, but for most publishers, there's a lot of different book categories on Amazon, and they all have a ranking list. If
Yes.
you're in the top 100 books in that category, that's a bestseller status.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, and it is an achievable goal to be much higher than 100, right? As I said, most of my clients have reached number 1. Um, Virtually all of them have been in the top 10.
That is
It's
wonderful.
very rare that they don't, and typically, the either I've worked with a client who said, "I don't care about that," and so we didn't even worry about it, or, um, I can look at someone's, online, footprint ahead of time, and I can say, "Listen, I can help you launch this book, and we can make it the biggest splash possible, but I wanna be clear that I don't expect you to hit, you know, top 10 of an Amazon category, and here are the reasons why."
Yeah, if they don't have like a big enough audience, you feel like that?
Right. Yeah. I mean, if someone has no email marketing list and someone has very little social media reach, they're going to have a hard time because they just aren't getting it in front of enough people in a short period of time.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
that
that's the platform. That's the author platform we hear so much about.
I'm sorry, you cut
Oh,
out.
sorry. The author platform that
The
publishers
author
are always
platform,
talking about.
exactly.
That's
Which
what it is.
and, and there are ways to work on that ahead of even publishing, and I've worked with some clients on that. Um, but it's really important to have that author platform, especially if your goal is, bestseller status on Amazon. And if I will say, as you said, New York Times bestsellers, that is an extremely political thing. It it's very, very, very difficult for a new author to get their name there or
Yeah,
to get their book there.
that's a
Really,
whole other topic. It's very
it's
complicated.
a whole different thing.
Certain
I've
bookstores and
I've never touched it. I have no interest. That's like, are you paying a publicist thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to help you, and you're probably working for years on that campaign. Um, so it's out of reach for the majority of people.
and you don't need it. It's okay.
No, you don't at all. Yeah. So
So you have a free giveaway that is about what we said earlier, taking yourself from that nonfiction author into like thought leader. I am totally going to sign up and get that for myself because I want to be a thought leader. Tell me more about it.
yeah, so it's a guide I put together, and it's 7 steps to shift from nonfiction author to thought leader. And it's really about, it kind of comes from the list of things that I saw people not doing who I'd helped
Hmm.
get bestseller status. And then I'm like, you don't even have this in your bio. Like, if I go to your social media, nothing says that you're even an author, much less a best-selling author. You know, um, the reason to do a bestseller launch or to launch a book anyway is because you want to get your message out there, and because you want the recognition for your knowledge. And if you are thinking that the book itself is going to be what makes you money, I'm sorry, but I want to tell you that most nonfiction authors never sell more than 500 copies of their book. What really helps them is using their book to help get themselves out there more, whether it is speaking engagements, whether it's interviews, whether it is um, getting their creating their own platform that is giving, where you're giving signature talks or talks where people are learning about you more. um, you got to be building an email list. You've got to be getting your message out there. And I think one of the biggest things that people get wrong is they say, well, I've written all this in my book. Now I have to talk about something else.
Mm, that's a good
No,
point.
no. You want to speak about the same thing over and over and over and over
I
again until
reinforce it.
someone says, oh, that person's name, I associate them with this, right? Think about Simon Sinek. Everyone, everyone in the entrepreneurial world, everyone who knows who Simon Sinek is says, oh, start with why, right? That's his thing.
Mhm. Tim
Um,
Ferriss, 4 Hour Work Week. That's the only thing you associate him with, right?
absolutely, right? And so you want to create that for yourself. And the way you do that isn't by writing a book and then hiding. It's you write the book and then you have services that you offer from the book and you're constantly talking about the book and you're constantly talking about the concepts in the book, whether
Mhm.
it's all of them or a selection of them or whatever the case may be.
And people need to take in information in different ways. So it's
And
like,
more than
even
one.
if they have the book, they're still going to want to hear you talk about this. So,
Absolutely,
mhm.
absolutely. And, the other thing is just because you've told someone how to do something doesn't mean they don't need your help to actually get it done.
Mm, yes.
So remember that you wrote the book so that people will come along and hire you and spend more money with you than the, 15.99 the book costs.
Yeah. And then whatever you're getting from royalties for that, what, like $10 a copy?
Well, that's a
Consideration.
whole different thing. I mean, I work with a lot of people who self-publish, but whether they're getting
Anyway, this is not how you get rich.
no, no, you're not getting rich by your book sales. No, no,
Yeah,
not
that's
not
what
for
my
most.
funnels are all about, is how do you leverage that book from the, introduction is the book, and then leverage it into the email list and the higher offers on the back end. So
Absolutely,
exactly that.
absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
Very
So
cool.
anyway, so people can head on over my website and grab that free gift if they would like to, and it's suzannetmore.com/shift, which you beautifully have going across our little screen right now. Thank you.
But for the audio people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. So do you have any parting wisdom or thoughts that you would like to leave us with?
Uh, yes. If you haven't written your book yet or you're in the process, be sure to include something that will take people from reading the book to um, downloading something from your website where you will be able to capture their email address. And if you have done so, uh, come up with something that will do the same thing for when you are out speaking about the book and you get the opportunity to give something away. Because one of the most valuable things you can have as an entrepreneur, as a thought leader, as an author is a list of people who are interested in what you are saying and who want to know more. So build that email list. It is exceptionally valuable.
Hashtag always be funneling.
Yes.
Fantastic. Yeah, I like to tell people to, make a QR code for when you're speaking in person, and you can have that up as like where your giveaway or your free chapter, whatever it is.
Yes. Absolutely.
Well, thank you so, so much for spending this time with us and providing these key insights about what it means to launch a best-selling book. I really appreciate it.
You know what? It's been a delight. Thank you so much for having me, Carolyn. I appreciate it very much.
All right. Well, we will say goodbye there. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.